All right, everyone. So today we have a really fun activity. My name is Andy, and today we're going to be learning about leisure education. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over what exactly is leisure, what is leisure education, like how does it help us, and why is it beneficial for us as people. So, and then after we go over our little lesson, we are going to be doing a really fun charades game. So we're going to see a couple of activities that we can do. So let's begin our lesson. All right, awesome, there you go. So real quick, let's go over the purpose. So the purpose of this activity is to increase our knowledge about leisure and how it benefits us. Leisure education is meant to encourage people to be a part of healthy programs, help people make good decisions, and to help people with tough times. So here are a couple of rules for this lesson specifically. There are some rules we need to go over. During the lesson, I ask that you guys pay attention as much as you can. Like I said, you could take notes if you want to. You can also pause the video at any time that you need to. During the activity portion for the charades, I'll be providing some questions or some statements. After the question, I want you guys to answer it. I'll provide the questions on the screen, and we will go over the rules one more time when we get to the activity. So first, we're going to go over what is leisure. So leisure is just another way of saying like your free time. So like free time, like what you could do whenever you're not working or anything like that. So leisure is something you experience when you're not working, right? So something like after you do your chores, after you do your homework, or even after you wake up from a nap. Normally you won't do anything after that, or you have nothing to do. So you have some leisure, some free time that you could work on something, or you could engage in something. With leisure, you have the freedom to choose what you want to do. So like I said, this is like it's your free time. You can do whatever you want, and we'll go into that a little bit in the next slide. So leisure should be a couple things. Leisure should be fun first. Leisure should also be meaningful, so it's meaningful to you, and it should also be enjoyable. So these two things should be what leisure is, right? So you want to be fun, meaningful, and enjoyable for yourself. So now, what's leisure education? So leisure education is an assistive tool that is used for everyone in the world. These tools include curriculums, activities, group sessions, or worksheets. And then here we're going to go over a couple subjects of leisure education. So leisure education covers a lot of subjects, too much to put into a PowerPoint and to present. So we're going to go over four of the subjects that I think are really important. The first one is learning how to adapt to certain activities, right? So sometimes we might not be able to do a certain activity. So having that tool of leisure education, it teaches us how we could adapt ourselves to have fun with the activity and to enjoy it. We'll learn about different barriers, right, with leisure education. So barriers is another way of saying, like learn about different difficulties we might face, different challenges we might face because of a situation. So you get to learn about that, and then you will learn how to adapt to those barriers. We get to explore new and fun leisure activities. So leisure education, we do get to learn about these things, but then we also get to learn about different activities. So we get to explore them, and then if you like it, you get to have fun with it. And if you don't, then you could always choose something else. We also get to practice our decision making. So with leisure education, you do have to decide what you want to do. And this is a good way to practice what you want to do, right? So let's say you want to practice playing basketball, let's say. Then you could choose to play basketball. And then if you don't like it, then you could also choose something else if you don't like it. Let's say you could choose painting, for example. So why is leisure education important? So leisure, first we got to understand that leisure, our free time, is important because it is considered a human right. Everyone in the world has a right to enjoy whatever they want to do for leisure purposes. And like I said, as human beings, we should all be able to experience leisure. That is our human right. Because of this concept right here, leisure education is important. So it's important because we need to understand how we can enjoy our leisure and how we could have just have fun with our lives. Let's go over some benefits. We have a couple. So the first benefit of leisure education is that it's understanding our choices helps with our health and happiness. So when we understand our choices, that means like understanding what is being presented to us, like what activity is being presented to us, that knowing that we have multiple choices that we can use to help benefit ourselves, that helps with our health and our happiness ultimately. It also teaches us how our attitudes affect our choices. So what that means is it lets us know how, like, what the choices that we feel reflect how we feel right now with our attitude. So if we're happy, we might choose something that brings great, like really fun for our lives, right? So let's say for me, I like painting. So when I'm happy, I like to go paint or I like to play guitar. So that's kind of like an example of how we get to see what our attitude is like when we choose our choices. It also helps us to explore and experience different activities. So this is something we talked about early in the previous slide. So we get to see different activities, things that we never knew existed, or things that we never thought about doing ourselves. And maybe we get the chance now because we have leisure education. We also have increased social skills. So a lot of activities do require groups or maybe up to 2 people. So with those activities, it does help us with our social skills. So that's very important with leisure education. And it also helps us to talk to each other about different options that we have for activities. A really important one is that it replaces our boredom with meaningful activities. So that means that if we ever get bored, just like maybe sitting around the house or doing something that we don't like, having that tool of leisure education helps us to choose meaningful activities, like it says here, so that way we could replace our boredom. So that's a really important one. And then lastly, I believe it also builds resources to help us when choosing activities. So if you have never like looked at leisure education or you've never used this tool, then you could start by building resources so that way when you want to choose an activity, you have those resources. So what do these resources look like? Resources can be searching online on Google, searching up different leisure activities. A big resource that you guys have is the park that you guys go to for the recreational therapy. And your recreational therapist, there are very big resources that can help you out with activities that you want to do or help you choose something. Resources are also your family, your friends, or books. So anything that gives you information or anyone who gives you information, those are the resources you have. So for leisure education, you get to use those resources and build them up. So that way you could choose the best activity you have for yourself. So right now we're gonna go into charades. Now here are the rules for charades. I'm gonna give a statement about an activity, right? I'm gonna give a couple statements. I want you guys to think about what I'm saying and give an answer. I will provide the answer after a short period of time. If you need time to think about the answer, you can always pause the video before I give it. So in the video, as we progress through the video, I'm gonna show you all the like statements, all the clues, and then I'll give about 30 seconds, or I'll even give a minute for each answer. So that way you guys can think about it, and then if you need more time, pause the video for sure, and then choose your answer, and you'll see it. So here we're gonna go through activity number 1. So this activity is fun for all ages. This activity uses a large and heavy ball. You roll this large and heavy ball in order to hit 10 pins. This activity is located all over Miami and the United States in general. What is it? All right, so I'm gonna give you guys 1 minute and I have my timer right here. All right, you guys have about 15 more seconds. All right, so the minute is up. So we're gonna see the answer right now. The answer is bowling, right? So this is an activity that you guys can do for like one example of an activity that you guys can do when you go outside of Miami or you go with your family or friends. There's a really fun activity that you can do for leisure purposes, right? So it might be a little harder with the pandemic now, but you can always probably like play a game in your house that's similar to bowling or something like that. All right, so we're gonna go to our second activity. So this activity is something that everyone can do. You do not need to be an artist for this activity. This activity uses brushes to create a picture, and it also uses colors as well to create a picture. This is something that you can do in your house. What is it? And I'll give you guys 1 minute right now. All right, we got about 15 more seconds. All right, the minute is up. So what is the activity? The answer is painting, right? So this is something that you can do, especially now in a pandemic, because unfortunately in Miami we have a lot more cases. But so if you have to stay home for whatever reason, you could always do painting as one of your leisure activities. And this is something I like to do as well for my own leisure when I have free time. All right, so let's go on to the next activity. So for activity number 3, let's start. So this activity is something that everyone in the world does. You can use a book, a magazine, or a website. This is how we learn new things. This is how we talk to each other sometimes, like a letter or a text message. What is this activity? I'll give you guys 1 minute right now. You have about 30 more seconds, guys. All right, so the minute is up. So let's see the answer right now. Something that we could all do. It's reading, right? So reading is something we could all do, especially now in a pandemic. We might find ourselves with a lot of free time. And this is a really good way to use your free time, right? So reading something has many benefits for ourselves as humans. We get to increase our social skills for one, we get to increase our vocabulary as another benefit. But this is something that we could all do. So everyone has books, a lot of people have magazines. I think everyone should have access to the internet so we can use websites to read about information we want. So this is a very good activity and something that I suggest. It's something that I do also on my free time. So let's go to number 4. So for this activity, you could do this activity with others like your family or friends. This is something you could do at a park or even in your own backyard. For this activity, you need a blanket, food, drinks, and maybe an activity to do. This is an activity that is great for spending time with someone else. What is this activity? And I'll give you guys 1 minute right now. So you guys have about 30 more seconds. All right, so the minute is up. So let's see our answer. So the answer is a picnic. So if you guys got that, awesome. So yeah, so this for a picnic, this is something you could do even in your own house, in your backyard. Now with if you guys don't feel comfortable going out to a park or public park because of the pandemic, or you see it's too full and people aren't wearing their masks, then you could do this in your own backyard. All you need is a blanket, like in this picture here. Just get a blanket to sit on so that way you don't get dirty, and have some food and just enjoy the outside weather, right? We need to be outside. It's very healthy for us. It's not healthy to stay indoors all the time. So let's go into our next activity. So this, oh, you see the answer right there, guys. But we're gonna go through it anyway. So this is an activity that you can do by yourself or with other people. This activity is best enjoyed with some popcorn, such as in a picture. You can do this at your home, especially now during a pandemic. This activity normally lasts about an hour and 30 minutes. Topics of this activity include comedy, action, or even drama. What is this activity? So I'll still give you guys 1 minute like the other, even though you have a very big hint right there. But I'll give you guys 1 minute starting right now. You have about 30 more seconds. All right, guys, so the minute is up. So as you guys probably should have guessed from that picture, the answer is watching movies, right? So there's an activity that's very good to do right now in the pandemic or when you have free time, especially if you know you have free time for a long time. You're not going to do anything for a while. So this is a great activity to be doing. You could also do it by yourself, like I mentioned. Just make sure you're watching appropriate movies. So let's recap of what we learned. So what did we learn? We learned that leisure is just another way of saying our free time, right? Leisure is a human right. This is something that everyone in the world has. Now for leisure education, this is a tool that everyone can use. It is meant for everyone in the world. And how does leisure education benefit us? Helps us explore and experience new activities, so finding new activities to do. Increases our social skills, so learning how to better talk with people, especially when we do group activities or social activities, such as a picnic that we learned. It replaces boredom with meaningful activities. So we get to not be bored, we get to do activities that we think are fun and enjoyable. It also teaches us how our attitude affects our choices. So we get to learn how we feel with what we choose, right? So if I'm happy, I'll go play a guitar. I'll go play my guitar. If I feel a little bit stressed, then I might go read a book to kind of de-stress myself. So that's how we get to learn about our attitudes and how it affects our choices. There are 5 different activities that you can do that we learned today. If we have enough time, we might go learn a little bit more. So we went over bowling, we went over painting, we went over reading, went over our picnic, and we went over going to the movies or watching movies at our house. So all these are different leisure activities that you guys can do. Bowling might be a little bit more difficult now, especially in Miami. If you're located in Miami, might be more difficult because of our current situation with the pandemic. But these 4 here, the painting, reading, picnic, and the movies, you guys can do that all by yourselves at your home, or you can do it with someone else, right? So these are great activities to do on your own to practice to practice these activities, or you can also do it with other people and increase your social skills like we talked about, and just having fun with other people. So I want you guys to think of what resources do you have. So we went over a couple in this lesson, especially people who are part of this program. There are plenty of resources. One resource that everyone should have is the internet. So you could just go on Google, search up your resources that you have, search up different leisure activities, anything that you could do, which is what I did, right? I do that sometimes when I want to learn something for myself or I want to do something new, I search that up. So that's a big resource you have. Another one is reading different books or reading something on the internet. You also have the people who work at the park, right? The facilitators who are more than willing to help you. So you definitely have them as a resource. You have your own family and you have your own friends as well, who I'm sure are more than willing to help you with something that you want to do. Now, what should you do if you don't have a lot of resources, right? So we talked about this a little bit. What should you do? So if you don't have a lot of resources, just start by searching something, right? You always start with one small step. And what this small step will do is it'll open up your door to have more resources in your hands, right? So that's what I think you guys should do if you don't have a lot of resources to start. You can also ask the facilitators, like I said, and they'll definitely help you start finding some resources for yourself. They definitely have that tool. All right. So I hope you guys learned something. Remember, if you guys want to rewatch this video or anything, you could always do that. You could always pause the video at any time. So that way you guys can really think about the activity and think about what you guys need to do for resources, or if you need to search up different leisure activities, you could do that. Right? Stay safe, guys. Wear a mask.